Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, the president of the Nevada State Education Association, Ruben Murillo, plus on the Power Pundit panel, Warren Hardy and Ernie Adler. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. 40 years ago, Hotel California and the theme from Rocky were #1 on the pop charts, and D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal started on the road to becoming Nevada's leading roofing company.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved.
And over these 40 years, we've become an employee-owned company. So when you're talking to any employee, you're talking to an owner.
And here's to the next 40 years.
Happy 40th birthday, D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Nearly 200,000 Nevadans work in retail businesses, supporting families and the community. Nevada's retail businesses generated over $2 billion in sales tax revenue in 1 year, including nearly $700 million to help our schools. Shop around and see all that Nevada's retailers offer our state.
We're the Retail Association of Nevada, representing thousands of Nevada businesses.
Businesses that work for Nevada.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the state capitol in Carson City in the old Supreme Court, and we're delighted to have back to the program Ruben Murillo. He's president of the Nevada State Education Association. So today is a big day because at this point lots of business leaders are being presented with what the funding plan is going to be for education. Can you share any knowledge of where this funding is going to come from? Because that's the big hole in the budget right now.
Right. We were presented with the information yesterday. There are certain groups that were invited in to hear the presentation. And I can't really go into details, but it seems like unless there's additional funding that comes in, it's a rearranging of the money. We need to make sure that there's additional revenue that comes in that helps to expand the pie, not just rearrange it. So the presentation was, for us, 1 hour and 20 minutes, and went through specific scenarios, proposals, but there was no bill language in that presentation.
Right. So at this point, they're still dealing with monies that the state is already going to collect. But what areas, as much as you can share, what areas do you think are going to lose money to be able to make this funding, which has been the governor's priority?
Well, I think that the emphasis has been on keeping the rural counties hold harmless, or as some people have said, it's really a freeze on them. Anything that happens that would rearrange money to counties like Clark or to Washoe need to be done with keeping in mind that our rural school districts also need to continue to educate children.
In the past, we've seen, for example, in Eureka County, Elko County, that mining has put up quite a lot of additional monies into those schools. Do you get the sense that mining will be contributing more to help balance this out?
I haven't had any conversations regarding that. What we need to do is we need to find a stable source of income. Again, with mining, with gaming, you have industries that have their ups and downs. that they have their highs and their lows when it comes to revenue. So whatever needs to be found, revenues need to be found to support public education has to be a stable source of income, not just something that's based on the ups and downs of the economy.
Was there discussion about the marijuana tax and all of that going towards education rather than going into the rainy day fund?
There was no discussion about any of that. It was just a presentation of what the Nevada plan would look like going forward into the future. But there were no discussions about revenues coming in or what it would look like from whether it's marijuana or mining taxes. That wasn't discussed.
Okay, so still we're talking about a rearranging of the budget. In broad terms that won't get you into trouble, what areas might see a decrease in funding to be able to go towards education?
I think that the rural counties are really in a precarious position based on revenues. If there aren't any additional increases in revenues, then it's going to be a challenge for our rural school districts to continue to pay their teachers and provide programming. So just with a broad brush, I would be very interested to see how our rural school districts respond and what the plan, if implemented, would have an impact on them.
As the head of the Teachers Association, are you comfortable with the idea that rural schools could potentially be impacted in this way?
Am I comfortable that they could be impacted?
Well,
no,
I mean, no, well, and that's the reason I asked the question, because I can't imagine you would be.
I think that as a state leader, I recognize that Clark County has to have additional funds for that. But at the same time, there are students who are free and reduced lunch, special education, gifted and talented, and ELL out in the rural counties who also deserve, a strong public education. And that can only be done with additional revenues. In order to provide, again, like I said, a public education, a quality public education, whether you're in Clark County or Mineral County or Elko County, you have to have the funds to do so. It's going to be a challenge to any group if there's no additional monies that come in or where they come from to provide our raises. For example, there's a 3% raise that's supposed to be provided by the governor onto the districts. But what's not being discussed is that second year of the 3% isn't funded, so districts are going to have to find a way to have that money support the raises, which means potentially, and I think you've already seen in Churchill County and Nye County, potential layoffs and cuts of programs in order to fund that salary increase. That's not the way it should work. Well, the way it should work is that if there's a promise of a 3% raise, it should be funded all the way through and not put on districts to have to decide, well, if I give a 3% raise, then what programs am I going to cut or what positions I'm going to lay off in order to provide, that's additional source of revenue.
And we'll be back.
Because of UMC, there's a wide open road ahead of me.
Because of UMC, she can grow up with her twin sister.
Because of UMC, I'm here to help you.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Ruben Murillo. He's president of the Nevada State Education Association. At this point, I mean, are your predecessor, Lynn Warney, was very strong on this program many times over the years, saying our job is to go for additional funding, but not to. It's the legislature's job to figure out where to get the money from. What's the discussion on the other side at the legislature in terms of where they could find these additional funds?
Well, there's and we also have been fighting for funding. It's not just happened during Lynn's presidency.
Of course.
But we've been pushing for funding, but it has to be equitable. We've been working across the board to find sources of revenue. I mean, we were part of a movement that tried that about 6 years ago, and out of that came the governor's proposal for the $800 million. So we have been working on that. But then there hasn't been anything since the governor reinstated the tax that helped to create the $800 million that was taken out initially. So it's a legislator's job to do that. That's what they're elected to do. It's our job to hold them accountable, to make sure that they do come up with funding.
And this governor is in a particularly tough situation because he has made this the centerpiece pretty much of his governorship. And so the ramifications for him, I would think, would be pretty tough.
The governor is doing all he can. I mean, it's great that the governor proposed a 3%, and he, last night I ran into him and he said, we're still working on that, or committed to that, and we believe that. The part is, he comes up with the idea, he comes up with the proposal, but then it goes to the legislature to help fund that proposal, to help make sure that that proposal is successful. So I think that the pressure to get something done is going to fall squarely on the legislature.
Is the passing of Tyrone Thompson, who headed up the Assembly Education Committee, going to hurt the efforts here, or do you feel that the Assembly is stepping up to the plate?
Oh, I think anybody who thinks that whatever Assemblyman Thompson was working on is going to fail is dead wrong. The Assembly has committed that his bills, the concepts that he was working on in terms of public education, homelessness, will continue on. At the memorial rally that was held last night outside of the Capitol, the commitment was there. We fully expect and support the Assembly members carrying on Tyrone's legacy, and then also working on the issues that he had going on legislatively.
Are you pleased with the response from the governor? Because there was a pretty ugly fight in the primary when Chris Giuliani was running against him. A lot of teachers were supporting Ms. Giuliani, but that doesn't seem to have affected the governor's position on this at all.
No, I think the governor has been open to us. Obviously Chris Giuliani was a former president of NSCA and also president of CTA, and a city councilwoman who was a member. So we supported her, went through the primaries, but at this point in time, the relationship with the governor is very strong. We met with the governor, we had a conversation last night about, he says we're still fighting for public education. Our relationship is good, it's strong, and we will support the governor in terms of helping to find additional sources of revenue to make sure that 3% is just the tip of the iceberg, and helping to provide salaries for educators, teachers, and support professionals.
But it would sound like your biggest concern now is the second year, where the funding is not there at this point.
Well, there's two concerns. The funding for the second year, yes. But also with the rollout of the new Nevada plan, how that's going to impact public education in Nevada if there aren't any additional revenues. I mean, you can scrape money from one budget item to another budget item or department and move it around. It's not really fair to the other departments where that's coming from, to be honest with you. We need money for not only public education, but mental health services and myriad of programs that help the disadvantaged in our state. So without additional revenues, it's going to be a challenge, but I think that the Nevada plan, as it's rewritten, will help to provide additional ways to look at funding public education, but again, without an additional revenue source, it's hard to do.
Do you see this governor in his first term, after we saw the commerce tax from Governor Sandoval, coming up with a new form of taxation, unless it's something incredibly creative where certain taxes might be raised, like a services tax, but other taxes decreased. So there wouldn't be a net overall increase in tax revenue. Do you see something like that? Because he's got to be looking at 4 years down the road when he's looking at re-election.
You'd have to ask the governor that question.
Well, and I would love to, and we have invited him to be on the program to do just that. Thank you so much for being here, and good luck with this mission.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have a great Power Pundit panel as always. We've asked Ruben to stick around for another segment, and we're joined by Warren Hardy, who's principal with the Hardy Consulting Group, and Ernie Adler. Both of these gentlemen are former state senators, and we're very pleased to have you all here. So Warren, just to catch you up here, we were discussing with Ruben the funding potential for these raises in salaries, et cetera, for education. And he was saying that at this point it's moving monies around and potentially the rural areas could be impacted negatively. What's your take on this so far?
Well, Sam, I haven't been following that too close because I don't have a client in that, but that's what I'm hearing around the building, that the potential is to move it from some of the rural areas. And I think if you look at where, for lack of a better word, some of those overpayments have gone, it's sort of been into the rural areas, so it probably makes some sense to at least look at that as an option.
Do you agree, disagree?
I agree. You have to take a look at the options, and with the overpayments, you have to be very careful about how you correct those for those payments. If you were to ask for those monies to be paid back automatically, that's going to be a severe impact. If it's over time, that would be preferable. But you have to make sure that whatever procedure you put in place, it doesn't do an immediate irreparable harm.
Ernie, one of the other things that Ruben was talking about was that potentially, unless there's an additional revenue source, that you could see teacher layoffs to provide the teachers who remain with the increases that the governor's promised. That doesn't sound too much like a good plan to me.
No, that's a horrible plan. I mean, we need all the teachers we can get, and we certainly need them to be paid well, so I would hate to see something like that happen.
Where would you see additional revenue streams coming? Because I don't see this governor asking for any kind of tax increase this session.
Well, he hasn't asked for a tax increase. I'm not sure whether, well, there is some additional marijuana money potentially coming in, but I don't know whether that's going to be sufficient to fund the pay raises.
And would you like to see the money moved from the rainy day fund into education?
You could possibly move some of it. I would be really careful about doing that because, the last recession we had, we emptied the whole fund, so I think we do need to keep it in good shape.
I don't see this governor proposing any kind of tax increase in this session.
No, I think he's been pretty clear on that, Sam, that he's not going to look at any new sources of revenue. The problem is there's, I don't know, 300 bills or something hanging out in the finance committees right now trying to figure out the funding method for those. So it's not just the teacher salary portion of it, although I think that's on the top of the governor's list of things to make sure he provides this session. There's a lot of other, there's many more bills with fiscal notes on them that are going to need to be reconciled before the end of the session.
So this is going to go right down to the wire here.
Well, I think so. I think that, you know, you've got some people are asking for small amounts of money like $50,000 and so forth, but so I think those will get through, but some of the bigger requests are going to have to be scrutinized very carefully so that they'll have money for education.
Ruben, were you surprised that the Economic Forum gave such a small boost to the revenue the state was going to get?
I think everybody was expecting more. I mean, if you look at the economies of Las Vegas and Reno, and where I live in Las Vegas, it's booming like crazy.
Right. It's like pre-recession days.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you take a look at what gaming revenues have been, they really haven't been outstanding. They haven't really been growing like they had been pre-recession. So it's I was surprised that it wasn't higher, but you know, I'm not paid to make those decisions.
Well, and one of the things, you know, certainly gaming revenue in southern Nevada is not at the same level, even close to what it was pre-recession. It's down to around 30 or a little above 30%. But the revenues that they get from all the other activities are certainly continuing to go up.
Well, Sam, I think that that's a pretty conservative group normally. And I think given the recent estimates from national economists that we're headed towards another recession cause them to be additionally cautious. And I think national economists are starting to change their position on that given the growth numbers and the job numbers that came out in the last quarter. But I think those things happen too close to the Economic Forum meeting to make an adjustment here. So I think they're being, as they should be, hyper-conservative on the estimation.
And it's China that, and the trade balance with China that we're talking about that could affect and bring on some kind of recession.
Certainly this week, if there's no trade deal with China, that could reverse a lot of things and certainly reverse the amount of income coming into the state of Nevada.
And the other thing is the price of gas has gone up dramatically in just the last few weeks and may continue to go up as we put you know, the screws to Iran. So that also could point towards not necessarily a recession, but perhaps inflation.
Well, obviously, the cost of housing in Reno and Las Vegas, the cost of gas, the price of living in Nevada is actually going up. You know, where people used to come here because they had a low cost of living, that's seen its days.
Warren, is that the state government's job, is to control the price of housing to make it more affordable?
You know, you asked that question knowing the answer from me, Sam. I don't believe it is. However, the state government and the federal government and local governments do have a role in making sure the policies that impact those sorts of things are correct and don't impede the market from moving in the direction it should normally move.
I kind of disagree with that. There's several things they can do using private activity bonds to finance affordable mortgages for people to buy houses and so forth. So there are things that the state can be involved in to make housing more affordable for low-income, moderate-income people.
I mean, I think the state would be surprised if it got out of the business of trying to regulate those things. If there's a market for it, the private sector will find it. And you know, you look at the majority of master plan communities, most of them contain a affordable segment of some kind. So I think we should have more confidence in the market that they'll fill the need that's out there.
You obviously have to have concerns about with the cost of housing versus what teachers make.
All across the United States, especially in large cities, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Las Vegas, the price of housing is rising so quickly that teachers and support professionals are having to live 1-2 hours away from where they teach. And so that could easily happen here. With the housing issue that I have is that with all these master developed planned communities coming in, there's not the, I don't see a lot of land or activity being saved for building schools in those neighborhoods. And so I think that's an area where the housing has to look out for public education in terms of securing land and the opportunity to build, good public schools there.
And Ernie, isn't this where the lands bill for Las Vegas comes into play?
Yeah, well, I think being able to use federal lands as a means of having school land and land for affordable housing is important if we can get that land at a reasonable price.
And this will help all the other lands bills that are going around the state if Clark County is behind it.
Absolutely, and I would just submit that the function of the government there is, because what was indicated is right, there is a lack of access to some of these areas of town. And that's a responsibility of government to make sure the infrastructure is there, to make sure teachers and others are able to access the housing. There are areas of Las Vegas Valley that are almost impossible to get to, including the area I live in, and the county's looking at resolving that now. So our teachers in my neighborhood have to travel a long way to get to schools, and so that is a function of government that I think would be legitimate.
Okay, and that's where we got to leave it. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it, and we'll be right back. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
In addition to NevadaNewsmakers.com, you can also watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next broadcast.